Have you ever looked at a factory floor and thought, man, this is just controlled chaos? I mean, one missed order, one ingredient that doesn't show up on time, and the whole system can just grind to a halt. Well, we're going to talk about a company called Fitter Snacker that was living in that chaos every single day. But we're also going to see how they found a path from that chaos to total control using a powerful integrated system. Okay, let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start right in the middle of Fitter Snacker's biggest problems. We're calling it production pandemonium. Then we'll follow their journey to find a better way, a real path to order. We'll see how they connect their sales forecasts to what the factory can actually do, and then we'll dive into the real magic behind it all, a system called MRP. Finally, we'll zoom out and see the incredible payoff this has for the entire supply chain.
All right, first up, production pandemonium. Let's really get a feel for what daily life was like at Fitter Snacker and see what happens when all your different departments are basically operating on their own little islands.
It's a fantastic question, right? And most of the time, it's not because people aren't working hard. Not at all. It's usually because of broken communication. It's a systems problem, where information just gets lost or delayed between the sales team, the production floor, and the warehouse. And for Fitter Snacker, this was their everyday nightmare. The sales team had no clue what was actually in the warehouse, the production team would put in an order, and the warehouse would be totally surprised. This, of course, leads to a huge inventory mess. You're constantly running out of one thing while another pile of stuff is just collecting dust. This means the purchasing department is always in fighting fire mode, placing crazy expensive last-minute orders. And accounting? Well, they're at the end of the line, trying to sort through a pile of inaccurate data. It is a textbook example of information silos causing total chaos.
So how in the world do you fix something like this? Well, that brings us right to our next section, the path to order. And this isn't about some quick fix or a new spreadsheet. It's about a completely new, structured way of thinking that changes how the entire business runs.
Now, this quote really gets to the heart of it. The old way of doing things was vertical, Information goes up the chain to a manager, then back down. It's slow. The new way, the ERP way, is horizontal. Information flows directly between departments. Sales, production, purchasing, they're all looking at the same data at the same time. It's just so much faster and more flexible.
And that's the key takeaway right there. The answer for Fitter Snacker wasn't to work harder or make more phone calls. It was to work smarter, with a single, clear, integrated process where everybody is playing from the same sheet of music. This is the whole idea behind an enterprise resource planning system, an ERP. Think of it like a central nervous system for the whole company.
This smarter approach breaks the whole production puzzle down into 5 logical steps. You start by guessing what you're going to sell, and you end by buying the raw materials you need to make it. We're going to walk through each of these and see exactly how they turn Fitter's business around.
Okay, let's jump into the first part of this plan, from forecast to factory. You see, it all starts with a simple guess. What do we think we're going to sell? But that guess, that forecast, has to be balanced against the hard reality of what your factory can actually make.
This is really the tightrope walk of manufacturing, isn't it? If you make too much, your cash is just sitting there, tied up in inventory. But if you make too little, you miss out on sales. So the Sales and Operations Plan, or SOP, is the tool that helps you find that perfect balance between what sales wants and what production can deliver.
And this chart shows exactly how it's done. Check out what happens in April and May. The sales forecast is climbing, right? But look at the production plan. It climbs a little higher. Now, why would it do that? Well, the system is smart. It's building up a little bit of extra inventory to get ready for that big sales jump in June, and it's doing it while keeping the factory running at a super efficient 95% capacity. It's brilliant.
And that little bit of extra inventory has a name. It's called a safety stock. And it's not a mistake, it's a strategic buffer. It means that if a huge, unexpected order comes in, Fitter can actually fill it without throwing the whole factory into a panic, without paying for overtime, and without telling other customers they have to wait. That's the difference between being reactive and being proactive.
All right, now we get to the real engine room of this entire process. It's called Materials Requirements Planning, or MRP. This is where the system does all the heavy lifting, and honestly, it feels a little bit like magic. So to figure out what to buy, the system has to know what goes into making your product. And that's where the bill of material, or BOM, comes in. The easiest way to think about it is, it's just a recipe. It's the list of ingredients and the exact amounts you need for one finished product. Simple as that. So the MRP system takes that recipe, the BOM, and it combines it with 2 other really important bits of info. First, lead times, which is just how long it takes your suppliers to deliver your stuff. And second, lot sizing, which is basically the minimum amount you have to order. With just those three things, the system can map out your entire purchasing plan automatically.
Let's look at this for Fitter's Oats. That top line, gross requirements, is what the factory needs every week. The system looks at that, then checks the on-hand inventory and sees, uh-oh, we're going to run pretty low by week 3. That difference creates the net requirements, what we're actually short. And now look at the bottom line, because here's the magic. The system automatically creates planned orders to cover that shortage. And get this, it places the order back in week 1 so it arrives just in time for week 3, because it knows there's a 2-week lead time. It's totally automated and incredibly precise.
And this is maybe the most crucial point of all. A salesperson enters a customer's order one time. That same data, untouched, unchanged, is used to make the production plan, which drives the MRP calculation, which creates the purchase order, which accounting uses to pay the bill. One entry, one source of truth, zero confusion. It's a game changer.
Okay, so Fitter's factory is now this perfect, well-oiled machine. But what's the real payoff? Well, the biggest payoff happens when that efficiency spreads beyond your own company and transforms your entire supply chain, from your factory out to your whole network of suppliers. The old way was kind of like that game of telephone you played as a kid. A retailer places a slightly bigger order, so the wholesaler overreacts and orders even more, and then Fitter overreacts to that. The signal gets amplified at every step. This forces everyone in the chain to hold extra, costly inventory just in case. It's just slow, inefficient, and based on a ton of guesswork. And this just lays out the difference so clearly. With an integrated ERP system, you can share your production plan directly with your key suppliers. They can see what you're going to need in real time. Suddenly, the relationship isn't about fighting over every last penny. It becomes a collaborative partnership where you work together to make the whole system more efficient for everybody.
Now, this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually make a difference to the bottom line? You bet it does. And we can measure that impact with a really powerful metric called the cash-to-cash cycle time. All that means is, how long does it take from the moment you pay your supplier for raw materials to the moment your customer pays you for the finished product?
And the difference is just staggering. Companies that don't have these integrated systems, on average, it takes them about 100 days to cycle that cash. But for companies with really effective supply chain management, it's just 30 days. Think about that for a second. You get to use the same dollar 3 times in the same period your competitor gets to use it once. That's cash you can use to grow, to innovate. It is a massive, massive competitive advantage.
So this all leaves us with one final big question to think about. In today's world, it's not enough to just make a great product. The real question is, are you building a smart, connected, intelligent production engine that can move and adapt faster than everyone else? Because that is the true path from chaos to control.